Welcome to our third session, ASU Help Center's Certified Training Program, Overcoming Barriers to Learning. To be a successful trainer, it is important to understand and address the barriers to learning. By addressing the barriers to learning, a trainer is able to establish an environment that is suitable to learning and that will assist participants in retaining what they have learned. In this training module, we will describe adult learning principles, define effective learning approaches, describe 3 important learning assumptions, and show how to motivate participants to learn. There are 4 main adult learning principles. Self-directed. Participants want to be actively involved in the training process and will assume responsibility for choices. They want to make their own decisions and to contribute to the learning process. Second, leveraging existing learning and experience. It is important to connect the past experience of participants with current knowledge and options. Next, recognize that participants are goal-oriented. Identify learning outcomes in relation to specific materials and experiences. Align participants' motivations to the learning activities. And finally, practicality. Participants want to see how the theory they are being taught links to real-world applications. Let's examine each of these in a little bit more detail. Learning independently can be challenging, even for the brightest and most motivated students. There are 4 key stages to self-directed learning, also known as independent learning: being ready to learn, setting learning goals, engaging the learning process, and evaluating learning. In step 1, assessing readiness to learn, students need various skills and attitudes towards learning for successful independent study. This step involves students conducting a self-evaluation of their current situation, study habits, and outside responsibilities. Signs of readiness for self-directed learning include being autonomous, organized, self-disciplined, and an ability to communicate effectively. Also, an ability to accept constructive feedback and engage in self-evaluation and self-reflection. In step 2, setting learning goals, communication of learning goals between a student and the instructor is critical. Also critical is developing a clear understanding of learning goals between students and instructors, or a learning contract. Learning contracts generally include goals for the unit of study, structure and sequence of the activities, a timeline for completion of activities, details about resource materials for each goal, details about grading procedures, feedback and evaluation as each goal is completed, a meeting plan with the advising instructor, and an agreement of unit policies, such as a policy on late assignments. The online format of learning with learning modules in Blackboard is how this is applied here in the Help Center. Step 3 is engaging in the learning process. Participants need to understand themselves as learners in order to understand their needs as self-directed learning students. Students should also consider answering the following questions. What are my needs when it comes to instructional methods? Who was my favorite teacher or instructor in the past and why? And what did they do that was different from other instructors? And then finally, step 4, evaluate learning. For participants to be successful in self-directed learning, they must be able to engage in self-reflection and self-evaluation of their learning goals and progress in a unit of study. To support this self-evaluation process, they should do the following: regularly consult with the advising instructor, seek feedback, and engage in reflection of their achievements, which involves asking, how do I know I've learned? Am I flexible in adapting and applying knowledge? Do I have confidence in explaining material to others? And when do I know I've learned enough? Students also need to understand their approach to studying. A deep approach to studying involves transformation and is ideal for self-directed learning. This approach is about understanding ideas for yourself, applying knowledge to new situations, and using novel examples to explain a concept, and then learning more than is required for that unit's completion. A surface approach involves reproduction, coping with unit requirements, learning only what is required to complete a unit in good standing, and tending to the examples and explanations used in readings. A strategic approach involves organization, achieving the highest possible grades, learning what is required to pass exams, memorizing facts, and spending much time practicing from past experience and past exams. Earlier academic work may have encouraged a surface or strategic approach to studying. These approaches will not be sufficient or even appropriate for successful independent study. Independent study requires a deep approach to studying, in which students must understand ideas and be able to apply knowledge to new situations. Students need to generate their own connections and be their own motivators. Successful independent study requires certain responsibilities or roles of both students and instructors. Helping students to reflect upon, share, and use what they've learned through experiential learning offers us significant benefits in training. With motivation, students are more motivated when they see useful connections between their classroom learning, prior knowledge and experience, and future work in and out of the classroom. In transfer, engaging students' experiential learning activities help them use their own vivid experience to bridge from what they already know to the new material you are teaching them, in terms of both content and skills. Cognitive elaboration means that the more associations a memory has with other memories, the easier it will be to retrieve and use. Creating opportunities for students to embellish what you teach them with their own experience facilitates long-term memory retrieval. You can engage the knowledge and skills your participants have acquired through experiential learning in many ways at different points across the lesson or training session. The concept of goal orientation emerged in the 1980s from a study conducted with grade-level students. The study examined individual approaches to, engagement in, and responses to academic work. In short, why and how students strive to accomplish different objectives. The reasons can vary among individuals, such as being interested in learning or doing better than others. There are two main types of goals that individuals possess in achievement situations. These goals reveal implications for the tasks students choose, how they approach these tasks, and how they react to the outcomes, and in the end, what they learn. First is learning or mastery goals. Learning-oriented students are interested in increasing their competence. These goals refer to a purpose of personal development and growth that guides achievement-related behaviors and task engagement. On the other hand is performance goals, where performance-oriented students are interested in demonstrating their competence. Studies show that performance-oriented goals foster avoidance of challenging tasks due to anxiety about failure. The study of goal orientation provides us with a new and useful way of understanding personality and individual differences, and of conceptualizing the interplay of personality in situations. Numerous lines of research now speak to the utility of goal concepts for understanding personality. That is, the study of people's goal tendencies, i.e. their tendencies to pursue certain types of goals and goal strategies, has yielded evidence of relatively consistent and enduring patterns of behavior, and is something that we should keep in mind in developing training. It is important to remember that learning is a process rather than a collection of realistic and technical knowledge. Learning produces changes in an individual, learning acquired through reading books, taking classes, and from academic institutions is theoretical knowledge. Practical knowledge is something which we gain from life experience and with real situations. Sitting in a classroom and discussing a certain topic is a totally different thing from experiencing the same work we read about firsthand. Hands-on learning is the best way of acquiring knowledge and is accomplished through using both practical and theoretical aspects of a thing or situation. Theoretical knowledge has its own importance in the learning process. Theoretical knowledge is the base of doing anything practically. Theoretical knowledge explains the why factor at the back of any situation and technique of working. Where self-education is concerned, theory prepares you to set a direction for your future education. Theory teaches you through the experience of others. Practical knowledge assists us to attain the exact techniques that become the tools for our job. It is much closer to our daily activities. Practical knowledge and application skills are essential to work effectively and efficiently. It is important to understand how things actually work. It is a tool of deeper understanding the concepts through the act of doing and personal experience. It is helpful in demonstrating the actual way of working and way of handling situations. That is why practical training is beneficial to both the trainer and the learner. Both practical and theoretical experiences go hand in hand, and each has its own importance. Theoretical learning gives the guidance to the mind and guides our body to convert that theoretical learning into practical performance. Theoretical learning is good, but not using that knowledge practically is of no use. Hence, it is very important to utilize the knowledge practically. Otherwise, there is no point to gain theoretical knowledge. So to have perfect learning experiences, a participant should gain both practical and theoretical knowledge, and we need to keep this in mind as we design lessons and facilitate learning sessions. There are three main effective learning approaches that we will study here: the behaviorist, the cognitive, and the humanist. In the behaviorist approach, there are 3 steps. First is modeling, showing participants how to do a specific task. Next is practice, allowing participants to perform the task after you have shown them how to do the task. And then finally, feedback, providing feedback to participants on what they did correctly and what they could improve on. This style of training tends to work best in on-the-job training situations, such as using the various systems and equipment here at the Help Center. In the cognitive approach, the trainer is the primary authority on the material and presents it in a matter-of-fact style. Participants listen to the presentation, take notes to retain the material, and ask questions to ensure understanding. This style of training tends to work best in compliance and human resource style training presentations, where information, rules and regulations, and issues of acceptable practices are discussed. The humanist approach relies on the active participation of participants to be involved in all aspects of the training. The instructor remains the subject matter expert, but relies on participants to share experiences, examples, and solutions during the training. This style of training works best in creative problem-solving sessions where activities and scenarios that require creative thought are presented. In most cases, making assumptions about training leads to trouble for both the trainer and the training participants, but there are 3 important learning assumptions that can assist you in delivering effective training. First, every person has the potential to learn. Often participants just need encouragement in order to learn effectively. Second, most people find change stressful. New training leads to change, which then leads to stress. By making the training environment conducive to learning, the trainer can take much of the stress out of the process. Make learners comfortable by creating conditions that support openness and creativity. Through the use of open exchange, sharing of opinions, and problem-solving strategies, the trainer can make the training environment less stressful. Incorporate the experiences, observations, and ideas of the participants in your training presentation. And finally, it's the trainer's job to assist participants in adopting a new behavior. People are self-motivated but often need encouragement to learn. Help make the learning stick with participants by developing plans to take action after the training is completed. In the second part of this training module, we will discuss how to motivate adult learners, motivational theory, and applying motivation.